like to say when I meet a family in the NICU, or maybe even a family who's been in the NICU for a long time, what do you need in order to be able to show up for your baby, for your life, and the way you want to? It's something that invites the conversation of self care. I need to sleep. I need to eat. But it also invites connection with the other people who are caring for their baby. Maybe it's a partner. I need more from my husband, my wife, my partner, my spouse. I need less. I need some alone time. It also invites an opportunity to see what more information or a way to connect with the healthcare team in the same way or a different way that can help bring the parents closer together to the healthcare team itself so that they can care for their NICU baby better. In today's episode with Amber and Andrew, they share a little bit about that, how they looked inside and looked to each other and said, what do we need in order to show up for our babies in the NICU? Welcome to Beyond the Beeps, Amber and Andrew Vassell. We are super glad to have you here through a connection with Dr. Yasova Barbeau at our parent incubator and at HCA University. So, welcome to you both. We're super glad to have you.
It's an honor to be here. Thank you for having
To
us.
be here.
Looking forward to the conversation.
Yeah, for sure. Y'all have had a lot of experience in the NICU, having three times as preemie parents and twice coming to the NICU. I just wanted to sort of give you the space to introduce your NICU experience to all of us here in the Beyond the Beeps community.
Absolutely. So I like to tell people that Andrew and I's journey to parenthood is like a miracle. For my first pregnancy with my son, Avery, who's 7 now, it wasn't a traditional pregnancy. I dealt with high blood pressure. So specialty doctors, specialty appointments, being monitored closely, that was what that looked like. But 4 weeks early he came, 4 pounds, point 7 ounces, tiny but mighty. But 24 hours later, they released us and let us take our baby home. And so about 3 years later, when we decided we were going to have our second, I assumed that my pregnancy would be just like the first. Uh,
Right.
but as things go, I'm sure the community knows there's like our plans and there are the plans. And
Right.
uh, on a routine appointment with my specialty doctor, he quickly told me that he wanted me admitted for observation. And from we're going to monitor you for 24 hours to we're going to keep you for the remainder of this weekend. And so we're going to keep you throughout your pregnancy. It just was a lot of decisions and a lot of thoughts all of one.
And you're all 25 weeks of that.
I was 25 weeks
25
Yeah.
weeks.
and I
Okay.
had a 2-year-old at home and we had just started our business. And so that was like another baby at home as well. And so we just had a lot going on. And then needless to say, 4 days later on a Tuesday, they told me that they were going to have to take Austin out early, like today, right now, in this moment. And um, 1 pound, 1 ounce, he came out. He could fit in my.
What was the cause? Like, what were they telling you? Like, why did he need to come?
So for Austin, it was the hypertension. It was the
Okay.
preeclampsia, and
Yep.
the liquid. We learn things as NICU parents, the terminology, but the placenta and the liquid that needs to be in it, it wasn't enough, and they needed to take it out immediately. And so that's what the was. And so our thrust into becoming NICU parents, and it was post COVID. So
41. Yeah.
yeah, we just had to jump kind of feet and head first, kind of feeling alone at the time, especially because it was post COVID and we couldn't have people visit or people come see. And I think because Andrew and I had a business together, it almost morphed to that. And so we were able to lean on each other, bubble when we needed to. We advocated for ourselves. We navigated. We asked questions. We pushed back when we needed to. And so I like to say we did NICU good. There's no good way to do the NICU, but he really put that as our main focus during that time, and we did a really good job.
Yeah. And I just think that we were overly optimistic from the beginning. Even when the doctors told us that they were going to have to deliver Austin early, 15 weeks before he was due to be born, which was shocking to hear, right? The first pregnancy, 4 weeks. Okay. 15 weeks. That's right. Significant. So But even though we got that news, we just kinda looked at each other and said, "We are just gonna stay positive," right? We know our child is gonna make it because there were questions about, being viable that early. But for us, it was never if, it was just, it's gonna happen. So we just have to be positive, um, you know, speak life into the baby, even though, it's 25 weeks old, we're still gonna speak life into this baby that he's gonna make it. So those are some of the things that kinda just carried us through when she says we did NICU good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you went ahead and did NICU again. Yeah.
Tried everything that we could in our power and her power,
Yep.
like eating right and getting the right sleep and all the things. But like she said, there's our plans and then there's the plans.
The plans, yeah.
It's pretty much the same. We went in for on our the day before anniversary, actually. We went in for a routine appointment, and they said we needed to be admitted, and at the time, again, we had just moved to Tampa, and so we were like, "We have 2 kids that are being watched by our friend, like, we have to go home and come back," and thankfully, at the amazing hospital, HCA Brandon here, or close to where we live, I had an amazing nurse, I believe her name was Mary, and she said, "I think you should stay. I think that if you leave, there may not be a heartbeat when you come back." It was that serious, and so they admitted us, and I can remember sitting in those uncomfortable green chairs that everyone knows if you've been in any hospital or any NICU space, you know it, and I was the only one in the room right before they were gonna strap me up, and I heard God say to me very clearly, "Count everything joy. No matter how long you have to be here, no matter what doctor you have to see, no matter what, count this joy," and ever since I did that, this even having this conversation with you is a product of counting it joy.
Mhm. Yeah.
And so
That's very profound.
mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, I mean, even for me as of course, as the wife and the mother carrying the baby, she's going through the experience physically, but as the husband and the caregiver and the support person, it's a lot for me as well. And that second time, again, we did everything that we felt in our power to avoid this from happening. But then 26 weeks into the pregnancy, and we're in the same position. And I remember
Yeah.
at that moment, they rolled her back, and because they were gonna have to sedate her and put her under or put her to sleep, I wasn't able to be there, when our daughter was born. So for the second pregnancy or the first NICU experience, I was there. Like I was holding her hand, I was support, they were doing what they needed to do to get the baby out. But with this experience, I literally just kind of felt helpless. I was just sitting in the room, just kind of waiting for an update to hear, okay, well, how's it going? How's the baby? How's Amber? But again, at the end of the day, just always trying to remain as positive as you can instead of letting those negative thoughts creep in that tend to always creep in. Letting drowning those out or replacing those with more positive thoughts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That it sounds like from the stories, there's that separation that you, especially you, Andrew, had to experience, not just from your baby, but from Amber.
Mm.
And were you able to go with the babies to the NICU when they were first born?
Yeah. So with both situations, I was able to go to the NICU once they were once they were taken down to the NICU. Of course, Amber was in the room getting settled and coming back,
Mhm.
getting back, catching her bearings, I guess you would call it. But I was able to go to the NICU and see both of the babies, when they were placed there, and then call FaceTime so that she could see them. But that was another thing that was even tough for me was to see what, like, man, I was able to see the baby first, even though he was in an incubator and I couldn't really hold him or her. At least I was able to be there present, like in those
Yeah.
few moments. Whereas Amber was able to, be on the phone and see her children. That was tough. But at the end of the day, they're healthy, they're here, so that was the outlook.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's a very important moment that is taken from us as mothers and thrust upon fathers is to do that admission to the NICU,
Hmm.
where you wanted Austin to know and you wanted, Aaliyah to know, "Daddy's here. I
Exactly.
got you," right?
Right.
But that is an experience, it's something we advocate for parents to be able to be present for, as much as possible. Certainly, if they have to do procedures, they have to have people step out, but, for babies to hear their parent, to smell their parent. But that is not something that there is, a class or, even a pep talk before you walk down there usually.
Right.
How was that experience for you, Andrew? Like having them, watching them get their lines and that sort of thing and seeing them get settled into the NICU because it can be a flurry of activity.
I'll be honest, Leah. So the first NICU experience, again, it was during COVID. So COVID happened for 2020, March 2020. So March 21, 1 year later, is when our son was born. And so literally, when we're going to the NICU, as we're going in, we have to wash our hands for like a minute, right? We have to put a mask on our face, and then we walk into the NICU. But when I walked in for the first time and saw Austin in the NICU, and just all the wires and feeding tube down his throat. And I mean, so small. Like I literally in that moment, I just broke down. I couldn't help it. I feel like even the toughest of men in that situation, the ball of emotions, if you care for your children, you just couldn't help it. So I remember I kind of broke down. I called my mom. Her and my dad, they had a few months earlier, they had moved from where we lived in Atlanta to San Antonio. So all of this happened like months after our supports, a portion of our support system moved away. So I remember I called and I was like crying, breaking down crying. And my mom, this is what happened, this situation. And she's like, I'm on the next flight. And so she came out and helped us out. But again, to answer your question, in that moment, it was just so much emotions all at once. I couldn't help it. I remember my dad hopped on the phone and he was just like, Drew, you got to be there for your wife and you got to be there for your son. So, it's okay to feel, but at the end of the day, you gotta be there for them. So I was kind of able to get it together. And I remember I gave Austin a pep talk. I recorded it. I actually still have the recording. And I was just like, you're gonna be fine. Daddy's here for you. You're a fighter. You're gonna make it. So that was like my first moment with Austin. And then for Aaliyah, having gone through it once, it wasn't as emotional. Of course, it was still emotional, but I've been there before. So, but still in that moment, just seeing her again, similar situation, all the wires, feeding tube, so small. But this time around, I was just like, you know what, baby, like you're gonna be fine. We have an example of what it was like to be in the NICU. At that time, he was 3 when Aaliyah was born. So it's like,
Mm.
to see the before and after, it just gave even more reassurance that she's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Amber, now you had your one person in COVID. Of course, if you were lucky to have somebody at your side through birth, that was, I hate to say it, but it was lucky. For a lot of folks, they were birthing alone. But now you really were alone. Um, how was that period of sort of transition into the NICU experience for you?
For Austin, it was we're gonna do what we have to do. I think that's what I walked into it with. I know for, not being there was definitely tough, not seeing him when he first came to be, but I think when they rolled me down there, seeing how little he was, because again, that's not something they prepare you for when you have a
Mm.
baby so early. They're so little in that child. But in that moment, it was like as if my baby's home. If the NICU was our home, we are going to treat it as such. We're going to sing to him. We're going to read to him. We're going to talk to him. We're going to have Avery, his brother, write letters and some bears. We're going to make this our normal. And so I think that was what my thought process was, is I'm going to make this NICU experience, which is so abnormal for most, be as normal to us as possible. And I think that's what really got me through, was just, we're going to make this his time. This is his baby journey.
Yeah, I mean, that instinct uh, to normalize something that is atypical, right? We don't want any baby to have to go to the NICU, but it is pretty common, as you guys can can live through and attest to. But that instinct to normalize is such a successful approach and such a positive mindset. It's a resilience mindset. It's a winner's mindset, right? Like if depending on what premise you want to put it in, where do you think that came from for you guys to naturally say, "That's it, we're going to do it."
I mean, if I can, Amber, ultimately, I would say like we are firm believers, and so being that our faith is our foundation in everything that we do, right? It serves as our anchor, and so because of the faith that we have, we know that ultimately, we have a certain level of control, but ultimately, there's a higher power who is in control of how things are going. And if we just have faith and continue to move forward, knowing that everything's going to work out in the end, and continue to be positive, even when things don't seem to be going the way that we would want them to go, that everything
Yeah.
will work out. And so that even before NICU experiences, that's always been our approach, is just to move forward with faith and expectancy versus having doubts and uncertainty.
And also in this family, that's us 5, we have a saying, and we when we go on walks, we'll come back, we'll hold our hands in a circle, and we say, "Vassells excel." And so that was kind of our creed, was Vassells excel, and we're gonna excel in the NICU. We're gonna give our baby, the best that he can have and advocate the most that we can for him while we're here. And Aaliyah was the same. Like, once Aaliyah came, it wasn't, like, flip it by any means. It's a NICU,
Sure.
and it's our only daughter, so we did the same thing. We bubbled, we advocated, we navigated, and ultimately Vassells himself.
For sure. I want to step back to something that's really important that is happening for a lot of our families in the NICU and in our world, which is the high blood pressure and the preeclampsia. Um, I'm wondering
Mm.
what care you got for, obviously they were watching you really closely with a history. Um, what was the care like for you? Because that means now you're a high risk pregnancy. So that already escalates our fears and stuff during the pregnancy. What was that like?
It was my experience. I think when you first get pregnant, you don't know what you don't know, so that just happened to be what I had to do. I didn't Avery wasn't so high risk where like Austin, where you need to go to the NICU. Like, just what I knew, so that's why when the second pregnancy came, I just assumed, like, "Oh, I may have to go to the doctor," not knowing that, hey, that's not the norm, or that's not what should really be happening. And now that I've had Aaliyah and been that experience and am now done having babies, what I realize is it's not just about doing the best you can, meaning sleeping, eating right. That means, for example, I had fibroids. I knew I had, but I think knowing what I know now, I would have done something first with that before I had another baby, but I didn't know. And so for me, what I think could improve, or where improvement could be, is after baby, you need a full checkup. We don't do that sometimes. We don't, when we want to have our, we just kind of go and not really taking maintenance of our bodies or what things could make it better. And so for me, like I said, I had fibroids, and now I'm dealing with those, dealing with them, meaning handling them with my doctor, but having doctors that like look at you from head to toe to optimize your body, and for your spouse or partner as, sorry, your spouse as well, just optimizing your body. But for me, that was just my normal. So I didn't think anything different until that second pregnancy rolled around. I was like, "Okay, this is not how it's supposed to go."
Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad that they were able to catch it before it escalated to eclampsia and 'cause it is very scary. I mean, we want you both at the end of these things, we wanna make sure we keep everybody. I love that you're talking about, getting care between, like, the interpregnancy care, and even when your baby's in the NICU, of course, you're pouring so much into your baby, both of you, and then trying the next thing would be maybe each other and then your other child, and, but really stepping back and saying, "Hey, what do I need?" What were some things that allowed you all to show up in the way that you wanted when you were in the NICU? So to show up and say Vassells excel, like right, like that's sometimes you probably had to say it and hope that you believed it a little bit more the next day. But like what were things that really filled up your cups?
Hmm. I mean, honestly, I would just say having each other through this process,
Hmm.
and we know that everybody's situation is different. Um, there are some people who have to go through this alone, unfortunately, right, as a single parent. And heart really goes out to those people because, I couldn't imagine having to endure something like that. Especially, of course, there's different spectrums, right? There's people who are in the NICU for a week, and then there's people who are in the NICU for 5 months, like us, right? So to have to go through something like that by yourself for such an extended period, again, I couldn't imagine. So that would be the first thing that I would say, is just having each other to lean on, right? And if Amber's having a day where she goes to the NICU, because sometimes we weren't able to go together. Actually, most times we weren't able to go together because we had a baby. or another child at the house. So it's times we just had to rotate, like, okay, you go, and then when you get back, I'll go. And so there may be times where she comes back and it was heavy, and I'm there to support her and talk her through it, and hey, we're gonna stay positive, and vice versa. So I say that was definitely one of the things that carried us through was just being able to lean on each other and push each other forward, even on the days when, ooh, it was kind of scary.
We also had some really great hospitals, especially HCA and Brandon, shout out to them.
I love that.
Great staff, great nurses, great doctors, like, we didn't have any horror stories or just stories that are out there. We had doctors that were really and nurses that were really invested in our baby and invested in us, and that also makes it easier to show up and easier to be there. But also, we just decided we were gonna advocate. Whatever that looked like for us, we were gonna do that. And I also have friends that were in the nursing space, and when I got pregnant, I remember her telling me that. She was like, "They don't work for you, of course, doctors and nurses, but, like, you're a team. Like, so when you go
Yep.
through pregnancy and you go into that room, you need to make sure that you're speaking up for yourself and advocating." And so I just took that and I applied it to Austin and I applied it to Aaliyah because who was going to do that for them but us?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's absolutely 110. I think that what's really impressive is how your natural instincts, kicked in. For us as ICU Baby, we help our families to come to this. And you surrounded yourself with people who are doing this for you naturally. And we absolutely agree. You are the parent head of the NICU team,
Mm.
right? There's a neonatologist head, there's a nursing head, there's probably a respiratory therapist head, especially with those very low birth weight preemies. There's a social worker, and there's a parent. And you guys stepped into that role excellently. I mean, um, what kind of things did Austin or Aaliyah go through? I mean, very low birth weight preemies, 25, 26 weeks. That's a full spectrum of experiences. What were the things that they kind of worked on the most?
Real quickly, if I may, I want
Oh,
to
sure.
something else before we hop into that question.
Yeah, let's do it.
As Amber was talking, she mentioned that when we were at ACA Brandon and even Kennestone, both hospitals amazing. And the care teams and the nurses and the doctors. But what I will say that I think kind of helped with that, or that the relationships that we were able to build while we were there, is because of the way that we approach the NICU. Um,
Mm,
and each parent approaches the NICU different, right? And what I mean by that is we actually made it a point to get to know the nursing staff, right? And when we go in there, hello Karen or hello Jennifer, or address them by name, speak to them. How's your day? Build that relationship. And when you, as the NICU parent, are building relationships with the people who work in the NICU and are caring for your children, it makes them want to care for your child more than if they don't necessarily have a relationship with that parent. So I just wanted to make sure I put that in there because that's something that Amber
yeah.
advocates for too is, speak up, speak to people, let them know who you are so that when they come in, they also address you by name. Hello, Miss Amber, how are you today? And, things like that. So again, I just wanted to jump on that.
No, that's perfect. Yeah, relationship building it's key, right? That's what you guys are doing. I
Right.
mean, as the parents, you have to work together.
Absolutely.
Um, yeah, that's really important. Did you have opportunities to sort of meet together as a team? Did you attend rounds? Were those things that you were part of?
So our first time, navigating it twice, we didn't know you could even do that. And that's the thing with
Sure.
NICU. No one prepares you for it. People prepare you for pregnancy, but they don't prepare you for the NICU because no one thinks you're gonna go. So with
Right.
then of course the staff was great in Kennestone and the doctors were wonderful, but we didn't really have meetings with them. But when we got Aaliyah, that was our first introduction, actually, like a care team meeting where we sat down at least 2 to 3 times throughout her stint between Brandon. She also got transferred to Johns Hopkins, so we were there as well. That's a whole nother story.
Mhm.
Uh,
Yeah.
while we were there, we were able to meet with HCA's care team, doctors. What is she on? What are the plans? And then also at Johns Hopkins too. So we were able to do that, and we advocate that for all parents is to sit down with your care team, request that meeting so that you're clear about your baby's care and they are as well.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, clarity.
Mhm.
Right.
It's pivotal in these, like, high stress, relatively life and death situations, right? We're dealing on very slim margins, so I love that you guys were doing that and that you were well received in that way. So that's good. That's great.
Sorry. Actually, now that we've been through it, I think they want that. They don't doctors are there to make sure that your baby stays alive, and so will they request a meeting on their own? Yes. But I think that when parents are actively involved in their baby's care, they want to see that, and they want to be it helps them be better as doctors, so
Mhm. Absolutely. Yeah, no, I was just gonna, she mentioned rounds. That was something that Amber and I were very vocal about, is even on the days that we're not physically present during rounds, please make sure to call us so that we can
Mhm.
be involved in that, in that meeting that they have and just kind of listen
Right.
and hear some of the updates. And then we can chime in, give feedback, ask questions. So again, that's another thing that we always encourage families to do is, even on the times that you're not actually there, ask for them to call you so that you can be involved in those meetings.
So this is a excellent, and I think you guys are perfectly positioned to answer what I'm going to ask you. So a lot of families are worried that if they speak up too much, if they question too much, that they'll be seen as sort of, and I'm air quoting, like difficult parents, and that they're afraid about their baby's care being compromised. Certainly, we've seen that actual, sort of play out in a way where parents really feel like they're being impacted. I'm wondering if you ever had that hesitation or had that thought go through your mind and how you might have faced it.
this is my baby.
Good.
I can see that, and if I'm honest, it may be personality-wise, I
Hmm.
naturally am a speaker upper, so I'm gonna speaker upper for myself,
Mm.
Yes.
speaker upper for my baby, you know? Um, but this is the one baby that you get. You don't, unless you try again, this is the baby that you get, and the one chance at opportunity while they're in there, and so if any time to be step out of that uncomfortable zone that you may feel or any time to, like, speak up about something, it is when your baby is in the NICU in front of those doctors, and of course, there's a way to effectively communicate in such high stress situations. Emotions are high, feelings are high, especially on the, parent side, but I think setting that expectation that this baby has a team and it's us first and you guys second. Like, and I think setting those expectations up front helps them see, like, okay, we got to make sure that we call Mr. and Mrs. Vassell. Like, we got to make sure that certain things are happening in a certain kind of way because the care team starts with us. So that's what my response is.
Yeah, and I would say but Amber naturally is, like she said, the speaker upper. And when we first got married, I was not necessarily that, the speaker upper. I was more of the, keep the peace and, I just if it's something that is dire, I'll speak up, but otherwise I'll just kinda sit back. But having been with Amber for almost 10 years now, some of that has rubbed off on me. And so when we were in the NICU in situations where maybe in the past I would have been more passive, she rubbed off on me and I was able to kind of speak up and even sometimes have uncomfortable conversations.
Yeah.
But sometimes they're needed and those uncomfortable conversations bring about change.
Mhm.
And even in that moment when it feels uncomfortable, you look back and say, I'm glad I said something, because I see the change.
Yeah. I have, like, a couple of examples. I think examples are good. One of the examples was a doctor really liked her in Kennestone, and during that time was COVID, and everyone was getting COVID vaccination, or some people were and some people weren't. There were choices, and I knew for us, we didn't want our 25 weeker to get vaccinated. That wasn't something that we wanted in that moment, and I remember her pushing it on me in a conversation, and I had to stop her and say, "I want you to put in my baby's notes that this is not something that I want for my baby. And I don't want to be asked about it again." And it was very firm, clear, but not rude. Very, this is what we're choosing to do for our baby. And remembering that I have a choice. It's my baby. I don't have to just do everything that they say. And totally was respected after that. And it wasn't any bad feelings on either side. It was just a firm line that we held. And I wanted it documented so that question about what it is that we said. And another was when we had a nurse that we didn't gel with. It was just that's
Yeah.
it happens all the time that
All the time.
feel a feel and I spoke up and said, "Hey, I would prefer this nurse not be on this ward anymore." And I use those examples because what does it tangibly look like to, like, advocate and navigate, and how the uncomfortableness with those things can be very uncomfortable saying, "I don't like that nurse. I don't want her here." And some
Yeah.
people that spring up because they want to hold the peace, you just let it happen. And so I encourage the community and other moms and dads out there, when you have the urge to speak up, be a speaker upper.
Yeah, I mean, that's, and I'm glad you raised these 2 examples because they do happen every day, right? It's we're humans.
Right.
Nurses are humans, doctors are humans, parents are humans, and like you said, it's a high stress situation, so how do we maintain decorum, if you will, or, relative respect for each other, but also feel comfortable to speak, what speak our truths and speak what we know and to hear each other, to really hear each other. I'm wondering, Andrew, as a non-speaker upper, which is now in our forevermore in our vernacular, I love it. How as I'm married to a non-speaker upper as well. And being a parent, it thrust him into because it's a different feeling from the heart. How did you work through that to begin to speak up or to step through?
Hmm. I think that for me, it was just about like confidence in certain situations, and especially in the NICU, as an example, because we are not we're not we weren't in the medical field, right? We didn't study the things that are happening in the NICU. Not having the confidence to be able to maybe articulate what it is I want to say or medically explain the things. And being with Amber and going through, working through maybe the not being confident in speaking up. I just took the time to do a little research. So, okay, let me research these things. She gave examples. An example that I have is with Aaliyah, there was a certain formula that they wanted to have her on. And, we're very big into, like, watching what we put in our bodies, like, reading labels, organic, natural, that's our preference here. And so, when I was looking at what they were giving her and kind of reading the ingredients, they were just very questionable stuff, and so I said initially to Amber, I would really want her to be on a different formula, but, she was like, "No, speak up, but let's do a research so that we can give some options like, hey, these are some of the things that we feel like would be maybe a better option." But of course, we know that because she needs to grow and all the other things that there's some boxes that need to be checked, but at least let's do our due diligence and do our research and see what other options are out there and then present them and see if maybe they would be comfortable switching her. And so ultimately you did. We did our research. We looked to see a couple of different options, and then we came to the meeting, the care meeting, and spoke up. And said, "Hey, this is what we appreciate the formula she's on, but where there's a few others that we researched, and we would like to bring to you and see if you'd be willing to, um, you know, just consider."
Consider,
Yeah,
sure.
really did.
So it sounds like you're doing like if does this sound right to you that what you did with your brilliant wife's guidance and education is solution-based problem solving, right? Like you can have a feeling, big feeling, and then or like you're something instinctual, and instead of sort of like just bringing it up and not knowing where to take it, you said, "All right, let me take a step back.
Right.
Let me figure out what we're talking about," so that when you brought it to them, you were working as a team again,
Exactly. Right.
right? Is
Right.
that right?
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, so that's an example that I can give. But ultimately, I'm thankful for Amber because and what I will say is I think it has to do with how we were raised. So Amber was
Yeah,
raised
okay.
in a setting where she was allowed to speak up and give like if her and her parents would allow her to kind of give her side or say give her 2 cents. Whereas, with my parents, it was more so this is how it is, right?
Mhm.
And so I as a
Mhm.
child, I guess kinda learned to just hush up and, "Okay, this is how it is." So then meeting Amber and seeing how she interacted with her parents versus how I did mine, initially, I felt like it was kind of disrespectful, but it wasn't disrespectful, right? You should be able to respectfully voice how you feel, and so she
Mhm.
really helped me with that over the years, like, now it's to a point where I'm not afraid at all to speak up for myself.
Sure will. That's great. Yeah, approach that conflict, right? Because you guys said it so beautifully, like, speaking up, it might be uncomfortable now, but like you said, Amber, this is your only baby, this is the one, and if not now, when? That's
Right. But I also think they don't know that. Like, that you
Mhm.
research your baby's formula. We knew that second time around because we kinda went through it. You know what? I think with Austin, there was a few instances too, maybe not with formula, but where we questioned a little bit. We're like, well, can we do something different? And so there is just a uneducation there because again, no
Yep.
one prepares you for the NICU. And though we love hospitals and what they do for their families, when you get that packet of information all one time, it doesn't hit in that moment. You're
Yep.
looking
Yep.
at it. And so yeah, that's what I would say.
And that brings us perfectly to what you guys are the next baby that you're birthing, which is Neohaven. So incredible. You are taking your experience, your wisdom, your work experience to all of these amazing skills, your great joy and love together, and you've created Neohaven. Tell us a little bit about that.
So in legal jargon terms, Neil Haven is a healthcare and education technology company that we founded.
Okay.
While we were in the NICU, there was a lot of gaps, especially that second time that we saw. Not just from a parent side, but also we could kinda see the gaps from the hospital organizational side, and so we took all of that knowledge and packaged it up, and our first, flagship product is the NICU Journey Guide, so that's our first product. When I was wheeled down that second time to see Aaliyah, I heard him so clear say, "You can't come here twice and not be able to leave a mark to help other people navigate this easier." You just can't, and so the NICU Journey Guide is the number one guide that's gonna help parents navigate the NICU with clarity, confidence, and support. And legal normal jargon is just a hand that you're holding, that you can hold along the way that answers questions, but also has a, emotional side of it because we know how
Hmm.
it is. So we like to say that our guide is parent focused, but hospital friendly. So we're kind of a merge between talking to the parents, but also how do we get that hospital perspective. It's been reviewed by nurses in the field, NICU doctors. We've just did our due diligence. We wanted to create something that could really truly be of assistance so that from day one to discharge, you are covered. Because a lot of times once you get into the NICU, depending on how long their baby is there, for us 5 monthers and 4 monthers and longer, you're not in until 30 days in. That's normal habits and behaviors. It takes about days
Yeah.
to get acclimated to this new world that you're in. And so we wanted to create something that helps you get acclimated from day one and even have them see discharge. Like what does discharge look like? What it could be. So
Yeah.
that's the NICU Journey Guide. And I'm really proud of it and excited to have it launched.
Yeah, and its launch day is coming up next week, I think you said, right? May 7th?
Thanks, Evan.
Jesus.
So
Outstanding.
amazingly, we've been able to become the March of Dives ambassadors. So our hospital loved us so much that it
Of course.
us to be the March of Dives ambassadors for here in Tampa, and we gladly accepted. And throughout our campaign, we were able to raise about our the goal was 5,000, but we raised 44,000 for them and counting and just really learning more about March of Dimes, learning about how they help women and babies through pregnancy. It's just been amazing. And so May 7th, we have an amazing event called the Mothers of Miracle Luncheon.
Absolutely. Yeah. So really it's a luncheon catered specifically for NICU moms, right around Mother's Day. So Mothers of Miracles, it's going to be May 7th here in Tampa at Fleming's Prime Steakhouse. We're going to have about 13 to 15 moms there. Some moms are already graduated from the NICU, and then we have a handful of moms that are currently in the NICU here in Tampa at some of the respective hospitals. So we're really excited about that event next week. And at that event, we'll be able to gift some of these moms that are currently in the NICU with a guy. So we're really looking forward to that.
Wow.
Oh, that's gonna be a very powerful day.
It is.
My goodness. My goodness. Well, to be a fly on the wall. How extraordinary. Yeah, those moments are so precious.
Aaliyah, I'm sure you can relate to this as a NICU mom yourself, but NICU moms, there's a different, I just feel like, so real quick, as a part of our campaign, we did a NICU Appreciation Day for the nurses at
Mhm.
HCA Florida Brandon, and we made them T-shirts, and on the T-shirts it says NICU nurses are built different. So I brought that up because NICU moms are built different, and the way that you all have to navigate having a child come into this world and not be able to bring them home for however long it is, I just feel like that needs to be acknowledged more and honored more So that was really where the whole idea came from for this NICU luncheon was we really want to honor, highlight, spotlight the moms, talk about these moms that have I don't want to say unnormal, but unusual beginning to their relationship with their child, where they're not able to be with them like they normally should be. Yeah.
And seeing the outcome, because we have it where they sent in their bio and their pictures and when their baby was in the NICU and now what they look like, and, like,
Yeah.
these miracle babies turn into regular older babies. So
That's right.
s
Yeah.
that Neil Haven will do every single year just to honor NICU moms and get together in an intimate setting and talk about what we went through
Right.
and highlight it and make great connections, so
Mhm.
Yeah, you're continuing to build relationships and build out that community, because as you know, there's a lot more of us out there, and when we have somebody with us and to support us, it makes a big difference.
Yes. Absolutely.
That's so wonderful. I'm really excited to hear how that goes
Yes.
and to see some pictures.
Absolutely.
For sure. Um, Speaking of post NICU, how are your 3 babies doing now? What are they up to?
Man, they're all thriving.
The smile for people who are listening, you can't see. This the fit like the camera just glowed up, okay? Like there's like a light coming through. Go ahead, tell me about them.
I love being a parent. It's, it's something you'll have forever.
Mhm.
Forever,
Yeah.
and they're thriving. We always like when we talk about the NICU, there's spectrums,
Right.
at the end of the day, but I think I'm also on the PFAC board at Johns Hopkins, so the Parent Faculty Advisory Council.
Mhm.
I love all things hospital and NICU,
Yeah.
and you see a spectrum of women that some with the NICU, some had normal pregnancies and, had different complications. Like, you just don't know how the movie pregnancies isn't always how it happens. But
Right.
I enjoy being on there because it's that spectrum. So for our kids, they're doing great. Avery's 7. He is a strong leader. He's very kind. Austin is feisty and fiery.
Oh, yeah.
Feisty and fiery. You wouldn't even know this other than his little petite size. You wouldn't know that he was in the NICU at all. The only outside complication he had was glasses. He wears glasses and they are so handsome on him. Our daughter, Aaliyah, who again, I thought I was going to be all boy mom, but God had different plans. And thankfully, like I said, his plans are way better than our plans because while having a daughter, the boys love their sister. Um,
And she just lights up.
and she lights up the room. She's just a bright joy. So yeah, is doing really well too. No, she has a few specials that she sees here and there, but for the most part, she's doing great.
I was just gonna say, perspective is always something that just keeps us grounded and humble and appreciative and grateful, right? All those words. Because like she said, spectrum, there's some people who have long life effects after the NICU, right? As adults, they're still impacted from being, but both of our NICU babies, or neither of our NICU babies, had that experience. They had to see specialists for a period of time, but there's no detrimental long-term effects. Austin wears glasses. He did have, some eye issues, but to us, that pales in comparison to some of the other things that parents are having to deal with their children. So having that perspective keeps us even more appreciative and grateful, of each one of them and valuing them, spending that quality time with them and just looking at those. Me and Amber the other day were kind of looking back at some of those NICU pictures, and man, it's just like, wow, to see what they were when they first came and what they are now. Like, how can you not be just happy?
Yeah, your stories are truly extraordinary and quite miraculous. So I love that you're bringing those miracles in because it's important. That's every day. I'm wondering, now that you're home and now that you're still in the thick of it though. Boy, you're not even out of like early babyhood.
Yeah,
Good gracious,
sure.
and you're doing so many things. Um, what do you think? What do you think hope means to you?
I think hope is another word for belief.
Mhm.
I think true belief, it translates into hope. Because when you can believe and not believe, but then there's doubt. Because I can remember with Austin, I believe it's the respiratory therapist came in who puts the incubator in, but I could be wrong. Yeah, no, it's the respiratory therapist.
Hmm.
She was telling me that, if he's under a certain weight, that they wouldn't be able to intubate him. And I was like, okay, so then what do you do? And she's like, we just don't. And I remember I laughed. I was like, that's not going to happen. I
Right.
having so much hope that it fills the room is is what translates for me. Is I had a belief so strong that Austin was going to make it, that they were going to be able to intubate him. Like it pushed out whatever she said, and it filled that room. And for me, that's
Mm.
hope. It's seeing the end already, even though I'm not there yet. I already saw the ending, and the ending for me, that hope for me, was the belief that my baby was going to make it, and my baby was going to be able to be intubated. And I'm living that literal hope today.
Mm,
Mm. Yeah, leave no room for doubt, sounds like.
absolutely. You know,
Fill the room with hope.
yeah,
Beautiful.
yeah.
What about you, Andrew?
I mean, for me, just staying on the topic of NICU and Neo Haven, the NICU Journey Guide. Ultimately, our hope is to be able to literally change the trajectory of how people approach the NICU.
Mm.
From day one, like Amber said, our hope is that this guide will um, you know, again, it's the concept when we created it, or when Amber created it, was family focused but hospital friendly, right? So our hope is that not only the parents are loving it, but the hospitals are loving it, and that it's adding value in a sense that these parents are better advocates and they're more informed about what's happening with their child, right? And so when you have parents who are more informed and they can advocate better, there, better relationships between the care team as a whole. And so,
Mhm.
and just the hope is that this is the beginning of something new, right, in the NICU space with Neo Haven and the NICU Journey Guide.
Amazing. I'm gonna if it's okay with you, I'm gonna read what you actually wrote to me about this because it's really powerful. Hope for us is rooted in perspective and faith. I remember sitting alone in the hospital room right before Aaliyah was born. I was in that rocking chair that so many parents know, and I felt God tell me that no matter what happened, I was going to count it all as joy. And that is what I chose to do. Counting it as joy means choosing to see the blessing in every moment, no matter what it looks like or feels like. When you live from that place, hope becomes something you naturally lean toward. It becomes harder to see things as hopeless because you have trained your perspective to look for what is still good, what is still working, and what is still possible.
So,
That's you, girl. You need to hear that back to yourself.
oh man, that's
And that's the end of it, okay? We have nothing else to say because that was so exceptional.
yeah, that was amazing.
It's true. Yeah, that's what I see from you all here. That's what I hear. That's what I hear you using for yourselves. That's what I hear you wishing for everybody else. And putting into action, right? This is, empathy plus action is compassion, and that's what you all are doing, right? And the world is a better place because of it. So I'm so glad you guys decided to step into this space. And to make it better every day. It's amazing. Um, is there any other words? I mean, you've shared so many wonderful things. I mean, so many pearls of wisdom and just pearls, whole necklaces full of wisdom. Um, Anything else you'd want to share with a family who's sitting by their bedside right now? Either by their baby's bedside or maybe at home or something like that. If you could reach in, because you will, reach in right now and whisper in their ear.
Mm, I'd give him a hug first.
Yeah,
So I would do
Amen to that.
a virtual hug.
Mm-hmm.
You're not alone. You're not alone. There are people that have walked this before. I mean, sorry, their babies are 5 and 19 months and doing well and thriving. And so though today doesn't look like that, have the hope to see what it will look like through our story, through our journey, through what we went through. That's what I would tell
yeah. And I would just tell them that it's okay to feel how you feel, you know? I think that a lot of times when something like this happens, you almost feel like you kind of have to suck it up and just push forward. And that cannot be healthy. You know what I mean? Like you
Yeah.
just bottle it up and try to, no, it's okay. It's okay to feel like it's okay to sit by your baby's isolate and cry. Like let it out. You know what I mean? Don't sulk in it. You know what I'm saying? But it's okay to feel. Feel, let people know how you're feeling, right? Because there's always the um like the psychological side of things. And
Hmm.
when you're not caring for your mental health, that permeates, right? So just feel, build a support system, people that you can call when you're having a tough day, and you're gonna get through, you know? That's what I would say.
And I kinda add one more thing.
Yeah.
One of the things we actually talk about in the guide, what Andrew and I lovingly refer to as bubbling. When we first Austin, we naturally bubbled, meaning it was just us 2 first, and then whoever we wanted to include in this bubble, then we would run it by each other. And we didn't include everybody because at the time with emotions being so high, sometimes even the best well person can make things not better. And so another thing that I would tell a parent is it's okay to bubble. It's okay to tell exactly who you want to tell. And if you want to share with the world, please share. There's always spectrums. Some people do want to share, but for us, it's okay to bubble. It's okay not to tell people what's going on. It's okay not to talk about it with whoever you choose to want to involve. So we lovingly refer to that as bubbling, and we talk about that actually.
I love that
Yeah.
language. Yeah. It's very true. The famarazzi can be intense.
Yeah.
And, and you're right. They have great intentions, but they can say some real painful stuff. Even just having to relive your story every day to a new person all the time.
Mhm.
So I love that you created the language for bubbling and really cared for each other in that respect too. That's great.
Yeah.
Amazing. And then I think I can guess if you like what was one thing that you like a physical thing, we build our virtual NICU knapsack. Like what's one thing you would bring to the NICU every time or you want a family to have always? Besides the NICU journal, of course.
Right, sauce.
Well, yeah, step 1, yeah, we're the same. We have a journal, absolutely. Journal 1, what else? Anything else? You couldn't live without.
I'll go. Outside of the NICU Journey guide, I would bring books for the baby. Uh, our first 2 hospitals, it was a s you and again, if you've been to this twice, you think all hospitals are the same, but you realize when you've been to 3 NICUs, like you have, they're not all the same, and some hospitals have, like, little libraries for the baby or, but some don't. And I
Right.
would always that was big for us. We're gonna read every time we go, so I would make sure to have a little book for yourself maybe, if the baby's sleeping and you wanna have some time, I like to read, but also
Love
a
that.
book for your baby too and read with them every single time that you go. That's what I would say.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. Um, I honestly, I was as she was talking, I'm sitting here trying to think like what's something that I always brought with me, tangibly, but I can't really think of anything. I mean, like I apologize, I can't answer the tangible answer, but I would just say always bring a positive attitude when you go to the NICU. Because one of the things that when we first went to the NICU for the first time with Austin, we had a nurse by the name of Gene, really cool guy. And I remember the first thing that he told to me and Amber was like, don't get too high on things. And what he meant by that was today when you come in, because it's up and down through the NICU, one day you may in and get a really great report about your baby. And you're feeling like, oh, like overly optimistic. This is great. Like, and then the next day things are not so great news. And so because of the constant up and down of the emotions, I think he was just kind of giving us a heads up to say like, hey, just be prepared for whatever may come. And so I would say, I don't have a tangible thing to bring, but always just bring a positive attitude with you to the NICU. No matter what news you get, the nurse gives you that day on, the rounds or the report of your baby, just remain optimistic and everything will ultimately work out for you.
Yeah, that's pretty tangible though. I mean, that takes a lot of, yeah, that takes a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot of packing for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Um, I'm super glad to have met you guys. I feel really, really fortunate, and I look forward to, being in this space with you all for forevermore. Um, and I'm really, really glad that we got to introduce you all to our Beyond the Beeps community, and I think it's only up from here, and I'm really excited.
Well, you know what, Leah? We'll go ahead and give you your flowers as well. We're thankful that you created this platform, because again, these stories need to be told. There needs to be a place where other people who are going through this situation can come and hear from other people who have lived this experience and can give them hope and inspiration that, okay, like, all right, I'm not alone. It will be fine. We can get through this. So thank you for Beyond the Beep and the community that you serve.
And then I'd like to add at the end, May 7th is our launch date for the guide. The NICU Journey guide, or is it NICU Journey guide? I want to make the right one.
What?
The website.
Oh, it's not it's just Nikki Drake.
Yes, I want to be sure. It's NICUJourneyGuide.com and it'll be available May 7th. So, uh,
Awesome. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for your time, your energy, not just here with me today, but clearly in the whole community. I mean, you're really wonderful humans, and I just feel so lucky to have met you all and had this conversation. And I look forward to having another one sometime soon. I think maybe we'll see how things grow and reconvene in some time. Um, and so, all of our folks who are out there, thank you so much for listening in to Amber and Andrew's story and their sweet, sweet babies. And if you're by your baby's bedside, maybe you're driving to the hospital, you're maybe walking and pacing and pumping. Um, the three of us want you to know that you are not alone. And we look forward to being in your ears or being on your phone again soon. Take gentle care.